Hello, welcome back, Literature Army. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we are going to be tackling Alfred Tennyson and his Victorian poetry. Disclaimer, I totally did not listen during this lesson, so my understanding is very loose, but I'll try to quickly summarize what I've managed to understand. So let's start. I think there were more poems for him, but the ones which I'm going to talk about are In Memoriam, Lady of Shalott, Charge of a Lightning Brigade, and I will quickly mention Ulysses. Okay, so first up, the terms which are linked to him. We need to know what an elegy is, so it's poetry reflecting on death, loss, and lamentation. We need to know the In Memoriam stanza, which is ABBA rhyming scheme with an iambic tetrameter, and we need to understand the dramatic monologue. So it's a poem in the form of a speech or narrative by imagined person, in which the speaker reveals aspects of their character while describing a situation which they were part of. This will also be later useful for Robert Browning, but currently for Tennyson it was used in Ulysses, and that is literally all I can say on the topic. Ulysses was the first true dramatic monologue. And yeah, Tennyson started that. So the themes in his poetry are a huge focus on faith, focus on believing in God, staying true to God, focus on persevering and not giving up, as well as I think of being proud of being a Briton and being British, which can be noticed in Charge of Lightning Brigade. So, starting off, we have In Memoriam. I guess I'll pull it up. Tennyson, In Memoriam, no analysis. So, his friend Arthur Henry Hallam dies, and apparently he was his friend, but as one professor who we have literature with on Mondays, who I shall not name, said, apparently Tennyson was really gay for this dude and they were madly in love. But I don't know, you didn't hear that from me. So, his friend or secret gay lover dies, and Tennyson goes on to write tons of poems for him over around 10 or so years. And these poems satisfy the sort of elegy element, because he reflects on the death of his friend, he laments. Later on, in the middle of this collection, he sort of starts recalling past situations with his friend, how fun it was, how much he misses him. And it ends with a wedding scene, a wedding of his sister with someone else, I think. And it's supposed to sort of give hope for new life. And the commentary as a whole, of course, is an elegy for his friend and sort of praising his friend despite having a short life. But it also mentions faith and how, while Tennyson feels hurt that he lost such a close person at such a young age, he still does not feel the need to blame God, and he claims that everyone should be strong in their faith and that it's very important to stay loyal to God. Okay, that's In Memoriam. We've done Ulysses, it's the dramatic monologue, first one. The Charge of a Lightning Brigade is a poem about the Crimean War and a battle in which soldiers gave up their lives. And Tennyson sort of praises the soldiers for how brave they were and for how awesome it is that they sacrificed themselves for Britain, despite it not having the best effects ever. What else do I have to say? Oh, and the Lady in Shalott. Okay, that's next. Okay, here on the screen you can see the Lady of Shalott. And this poem is basically a story of how we have a lady, and she sits in a tower in a castle, and she's not allowed to look at real life. She only has a mirror where she sees reflections of what is happening outside, and instead she has to spend her whole life weaving and creating beautiful things. And she knows that if she sort of starts paying attention to what's happening outside, she will be cursed and she will die. So we sort of talked about how this can have two interpretations. The first interpretation is a feminist point of view, where it's a commentary on how women were treated in the Victorian era in which Tennyson lived. So women were sort of trapped in the domestic sphere, and they were forced to sort of focus on these unimportant, silly things, etc., while the men had access to the outside world. And as soon as the women sort of tried to assimilate and also gain independence, etc., they die in the poem, while in reality they are sort of criticized for it, or I don't know, or even worse, maybe. Okay, I'm not going to go there. I don't know. But so okay, it's a feminist commentary on how women had harder lives than men and were punished for things which men were praised for. This is one interpretation. The second one, sorry, a motorbike outside my window. The second interpretation is that this is a depiction of artists. So an artist has to sort of have his own space where he creates, or she, of course, where they create. They sort of focus entirely on what they are creating and on seeking beauty. And as soon as they start paying attention to life in reality and they try to integrate with what is happening in real life, they lose the ability to create good art. So of course in this metaphor the artist is the Lady of Shalott. They can only sort of paint reflections of what is actually happening, that's the mirror. And upon leaving the tower and sort of looking outside, they are sentenced to death. So the art dies and they are no longer able to create good things. That's at least how I believe we interpret it during the lesson. The ending of the poem is also quite symbolic because she looks outside. The whole reason she looks outside is because she sees a reflection of this really handsome guy and she's like, okay, fuck it, I guess. He's so hot, it's worth looking out the window and possibly being cursed forever. And she looks and it's beautiful Lancelot and he has nice curly hair and he has a nice horse. And she gets into the boat, she writes Lady of Shalott on her boat, she floats down until she freezes to death, and then Lancelot finds her. He sort of like goes through the crowd to look at what they're looking at. He reaches her and all he has to say is, "Oh my, what a pretty face, I hope she rests in grace." So it's about how she was ready to die for this man, and in return all she got was a quick, "Oh yeah, okay, she's hot, next." And I think that's all I can say about Tennyson. Let me just look through these. Oh, okay, I'm sorry for it being chaotic, but I guess I also have something more about the dramatic monologue, and it's dramatic because it has a theatrical quality, because it's meant to be read to an audience, and it's a monologue because one solitary character talks and describes an experience. I'll talk about this more in the next video. And common themes and ideas, he's praised for his ability to create musical lyrics. Because of his specific rhyming abilities in stanzas, they flow quite nicely. For example, the In Memoriam stanza, the ABBA rhyming scheme, he wasn't the first person to do so, Shakespeare did it before him. However, it's still called In Memoriam because his piece of work in this scheme was so revolutionary and so long. I mean, as I mentioned, he wrote, I'm not sure how many exactly, In Memoriam, how many poems? 131 sections, 2,916 lines. So he was really down bad for his friend and he was so sad that he died. So yeah, he's revolutionary in that sense. He was really in touch with emotions, with faith, and yeah, that's it for him, I guess. So see you in the next video, and the next one I think I know more about, so it'll probably be better than this. Bye bye, subscribe, like, click the bell button, and I have one hater. So whoever you are, write a comment and tell me why you keep disliking my videos. Bye bye!